All right, welcome back to another video. In the last video, we tried to set up the example in the Juniper documentation for BGP authentication. So I've got that example here. This is what we tried to do. Unfortunately, it did not work. It could just be that we were using the wrong start time, something like that. But this video is going to be a troubleshooting video, and we're just going to get it to work and can just by question marking, Googling, doing whatever it takes to actually see the BGP neighborship form with a authentication key and actually see it go into established, even though there is authentication set up on it. So exciting video. I actually was having a lot of issues with GNS3, particularly when it would reboot, it wouldn't save the most recent config. And there'd be further issues if I did a file list. It wasn't saving the files I had. I had an extra file, HOW, that was just sitting there I couldn't get rid of. So I went ahead and I just deleted everything, reinstalled or created it, and then re-entered my license key and everything. And so right now I've got just a base configuration on there that I set up between videos, and you can see I've just got my IP addressing and just the smallest amount of configuration possible to establish a BGP neighborship. So if I do a show BGP summary, you can see I've got active. So let's go ahead and see if we can set up BGP neighborship authentication. And while we're doing that, let's get a Wireshark capture going. Hopefully it'll just keep running and we can have a lot of packets captured. And I've kind of got a sense of where I want to go. I think I can now just kind of get through with just using the question mark. I won't need to Google or pull up another source of documentation. We should be seeing some BGP update messages, or sorry, keep alive messages, and here they are. So being sent from both sides. We got a keep alive message, and it looks like the source port is 179, destination is ephemeral. Here the source is ephemeral, destination is well known for BGP. So you can see this is the device that initially established that BGP neighborship, the .1, because it opened up an ephemeral port and it reached out to the BGP port on the other side. So it was initiated from .1 initially. And you can see this .2, it has the source port as 179. So that's something I always like to take note of, because just knowing how those source ports and destination ports work, if I want to form a BGP neighborship with you, I'm going to send information to your BGP port, but my own port is just going to be an ephemeral port I opened up, and then that way somebody can form a BGP neighborship to me on my port, and my port won't even be busy then. So yeah, all right, let's go ahead and add those configs and hopefully get to see the BGP neighborship drop. So I actually am, I think, going to need to use the configuration as a guideline here. So let's skip the commands for now, and let's just go straight to the BGP section and see if we can just enable authentication without using a keychain. So here there's a command, authentication key. So let's see if that command is going to work. And if it does, we'll see the the connection go down because it'll only be on this side and not this side. So let's do test 1 2 3 for the authentic key. And now let's commit that, and hopefully we'll see the neighborship go down. So I'll do a pipe refresh on this. So we're going to see it go into active on this side, I believe. So here's an active. Yep, so it goes into active. So that's good news. The connection dropped because there's now authentication on this side, but there's no authentication on the other side. So let's take a look at what happened when it dropped. You can see this, the traffic is all the same until we get down here to this notification message. So we can say that there's an error now, and it's unknown why there's an error. So let's see if we can resolve that error. And it'd be nice if we could see some, because I know there's kind of a bug in GNS3 when you're using Wireshark where sometimes it just stops capturing packets. So I definitely want it to still be capturing. We're going to see SYN packets being sent even though there's no connection. We will see those still being sent, I believe. So we should see a packet 37 show up at some point. But I mean, I can always just redo it. So it's really kind of no love lost. So let's go ahead and enter that same password on this side. Edit protocols, BGP ext. Oops, group ext. Set authentication MD5. Authentication key, and then it's going to be a plain text password that goes to a MD5. So you can see here, I entered it in plain text here, but when I did the show pipe display set in my actual candidate configuration, it's going to show up as a MD5 hash, and it's also going to show up that way in my running configuration after I commit. So let's take a look at that. So here it is, MD5 hash, so everything's nice and secure. Let's see if the connection came up, and it did. It's back and established. So we can see, unfortunately, yes, it stopped capturing. It does that sometimes, and I'm not sure why, but it's kind of not too much of a hassle to just start it again. So let's go ahead and quit without saving. Let's roll back that change. And then let's start the capture and then roll back that change. Roll back the rollback. And this will add that authentication key back and hopefully bring the neighborship up. And in Wireshark, we'll see that the key is actually being exchanged, and we'll be able to go in and sniff out that key. And hopefully we won't see it in plain text, but that'll be interesting to see. So this is what I was expecting to see before, is just these SYN floods, or just these failed SYN packets going and not getting a response back, but continuing to send. Looks like they're being sent if I do ip.src equals, so I just narrow out one side. As I mentioned in an earlier video, the more you get comfortable with filtering in Wireshark, the easier it is to use. So this looks kind of inconsistent as far as like a number of seconds. So it looks like here it happened every 4 seconds, or here it took 4 seconds, but here it looks like it took 7 seconds, and then here, like, probably like 6 seconds. So we've got 4, 7, 6. And then we've got a large number of seconds here, even larger there. So kind of all over the place. It doesn't seem like it's every 5 seconds or something like that. Seems like it's happening about an average of like 6 or 7 seconds, something like that. 4 or 5 seconds, 3 maybe. So I guess like every 5 seconds is kind of the average. Here's 7. Yeah, I would say it's happening like every 5 seconds or so. But let's see what happens when I commit that config. And sorry, I'll be filtering out for BGP. Oh, but we can see, even though we're just looking at it one directional, we can see what happened here. So I'll change the BGP, the filter, to filter out for BGP. So now we've got opens, we've got our keep alives that we're used to seeing, but now we've got updates. So here's the open message. So this is where I would expect to see that authentication key, probably under optional parameters. There's graceful restart. So here's some multi-protocol extensions capability. Nothing yet. Yep, nothing in that open message coming from .2. How about the open message coming from, oh, this is the one from .1. What about the one from .2? Yep, nothing in there either. And nothing here. So maybe it's in the TCP information. It's like there's, here we go. Is this it? TCP MD5 signature? I guess I'm not sure where this is showing up. Yeah, so I don't see it so far. Here's the keep alive message. Just so it's definitely not going to be exchanged in there. Here's the update message, so which routes are being withdrawn or which one are being added. And you can see there's no change in that. If I were to go and add another route into BGP, which I can do now, we'll see that change. So take a look at what's on here right now. So you can see we've got just the, yeah, we don't even have the directly connected routes into BGP right now. So why don't I go ahead and just put a random route. So set interfaces LO0.0 family inet address, and then we'll do 1.2.3.4/32, and now we'll set up a policy to redistribute this from a directly connected route into into BGP. So we're going to do edit policy options, policy statement, direct to BGP, set term 1 from protocol direct, set term 1, then accept, set term to, then reject. So that looks good. Now let's apply it. Equals BGP group ext, set import, and then direct. Okay, so hopefully we'll see an update now, and we'll see that extra route go through. If I did that correctly, I kind of tried to do it off the top of my head just to give myself the practice. And as we remembered from an earlier video, the language is pretty difficult. I can, of course, just make sure that the capture is still running. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and stop this capture and restart it just to make sure it's going good. And then I'm going to roll back this and try an import, an export, because you can kind of think of it like, because as I mentioned in an earlier video, I was thinking that an import is like you take it out of the bucket of direct routes and you put it into the bucket of BGP routes. So therefore you're importing it into BGP. But another way you could think of it is I'm exporting it because I'm taking it out of the bucket of direct routes, yes, but I'm not putting it into BGP and having it stay in there. I'm throwing it out the window to my neighbors. I'm exporting it out to the people who are going to receive this from BGP. So that kind of is another way that it can be thought of if it does happen to be what is the correct way to cause that update message. So right now we just got to keep it alive as expected. I'll do a commit, and then we shouldn't see any changes if it's really is meant to be a export and not an import. So that does seem to be the case. So I'm going to go ahead and change that so that it's an export policy. So I'm going to do a rollback 1. And then show pipe compare or show pipe display set. Show pipe compare. Okay, let me do a rollback 0. Now do a show pipe display set. And okay. So now I'll do a run show system rollback compare. Oops. And it looks like you can't do that command in config mode, even with using the run keyword. There are commands that are going to be eccentric in that way. So if I show what happens if I roll back to 1, I add all of this configuration, which is, oh, well, this might have been my problem here, is that it looks like I had a typo in the name of the group, so I never actually applied it. So let's go ahead and see what happens if I apply it as a import policy before attempting to apply it as an export policy. So if I do a show pipe compare, now I can see the new config I'm going to be adding. Although it looks like here I'm going to be erasing it. Which is strange because if I do a show pipe display set or a show pipe, just a show, and you can see I don't have that configuration on here, so I don't know how I can. Oh, I do have it on here. Okay, so it's already on here. So I'm going to do edit protocols BGP group BGP and then show pipe display set relative. And now I can delete this false group. And now I can add that import to the correct group. And hopefully we'll see an update message. If not, I will try the export and hopefully we'll see it there. Hoping to see some more keep alives just to know that the capture hasn't stopped due to the glitch that can sometimes happen. So I don't see number 40. Let me clear the filter. Nice if I could get number 42, just to know that it's still running. I can always just restart the capture. It's not too much time lost. Another thing I can do is ping. And if I ping across the wire and I don't see ICMP packets, then I know it's not running. So I'm not sure if this is across the wire or not, so I'll try both of them. So yeah, I don't see any ICMP packets at all, so I know that it's no longer running. So I'm unfortunately going to need to restart it. I'll try closing it first because the reason I had been closing it here first is because there's a bug, but if we run into that bug and it's in this video, then you'll be able to see it firsthand, which might be valuable if you are sticking it through these. So, all right. So now let's take a look at ICMP traffic. So across the wire is probably the .1. Yep, so .1 is across the wire. .2 is configured on R1. So we've got the ICMP traffic. We know that it's actually capturing. So let's roll this change back, which means it's going to be configured on the wrong group. So we should see a BGP update message. And right now I only see keep alives. I'll roll it back again. And before I commit on that, I'll do another ping across the wire. Oh, but it's going to be filtered out for now. So I'll just do that one more time. Yep, so still capturing. Let's go back to look at the BGP traffic and still keep alive. So now I'll do a show pipe compare. And yep, so now it's going to be applied correctly. And we'll see if there's an update message. Nope, and there's no update message. So let's see what happens when it is no longer imported, but it is instead exported. So I'll need to delete it from here. Or actually I can just, yeah, I really won't need to change the policy at all. I'll just need to change how it's applied. So I will need to delete it from here. But to reapply it, I don't have to redefine anything. I can just change how it's applied. Direct to BGP. Oh, right, because I'm doing the delete still. Okay, so hopefully I get an update message from this. And there it is. So there you can see No matter what the networking professor tells you, no matter what you read in a book, if you want to send a route through BGP out to other routers, you've got to use an export policy. And you might be like me and thinking, that makes no sense at all. I want to put it into BGP. I want to import it into this protocol so that it is sent out. Well, no, you can't think of it that way. You got to think, I'm going to give it to all these people, therefore I'm going to export it out. Like I'm the USA, I have N95 respirators that I produced as directly connected routes. So if I send them out to China, am I importing them or am I exporting them? Yes, I'm using a cruise liner, or not a cruise liner, but I'm using a barge. I'm loading up a barge or planes or however they're sent. Yes, I'm putting them inside of that thing being BGP. But once they are in that, I'm still exporting it. So this is a really good, I think, lesson about the difference between importing and exporting. And unfortunately, I don't think that it's that great of a kind of insight into what an import is, but an export, if you think of it, yes, you are putting it into the new protocol, but what is that protocol for? It's for exporting it out to other routers. So it is very much something that makes sense if you think of it as an export. And hopefully that's what people get from this. So let's go and look at this update message. So that's the keep alive. Here's the update. So we don't have any withdrawn routes, but we do have new path attributes, including a next hop. And then we have network layer reachability information, which is both of those directly connected routes. The special one we set up on the loopback, and the one, of course, on the link that was up between the two devices. So kind of would have liked to just send this one, but at this point, I guess I'm not, I guess in the policy, you could say, let's see here, let's go into that policy. So edit, policy options, policy statements, and then this was, yep, direct to BGP, so set relative. So we could do from protocol direct, then accept. So we could probably modify those. So instead of from protocol direct, here we go. You can filter out the addresses you want to, you can just create a route filter. So let's go ahead and do that. So these are going to be direct routes, but they're going to be only routes that I specify in my filter. So we only want 1.2.3.4/32. We don't want to do the other one. So it looks like there's another option here. Yep, and we want it to be exact. We don't want it to apply to a group of host addresses, either being within a range or longer or shorter as far as the network mask is concerned than what we specified here. We want it to be exactly what is specified there. So we've got that in there. Let's take a look at the policy options. Oh, and it looks like we've still got the statement here, which might include that. So let's go ahead and remove that statement. And now hopefully we'll get a update message. I'm going to test to make sure that the capture is still going by doing a ping. Right now we're at packet 22 of ICMP, so we'll get additional ICMP traffic. I think I've got it in my buffer somewhat recent. Yeah, there it is. So 22, I actually don't remember if this was across the wire or not, so I'll try them both. So yep, it looks like sure enough it stopped capturing. So I'm gonna go ahead and restart that. And then we're going to take a look at that new update message. And now we'll see that it only includes that one route that I wanted advertised, and it does not include the other direct route. So we'll get an update message. There it is. And then within that, got, aha, so it's now a withdrawn route because it was learned before, but now it is not learned. So that's interesting. Can do even more. So we can go and remove this whole policy. Now we'll see the other one show up as a withdrawn message in an update. There's the update. So this is withdrawn. So now when I add the policy back in, we're not going to see any withdrawn routes. We're going to see more network layer reachability information with path attributes, but we're only going to have that one in there. So let's go ahead and roll back that change and commit it, and then take a look at that new update right here. And we'll see, yep, we've got no more withdrawn routes because we're not taking anything out of BGP, we're adding something into BGP, but what we're adding to BGP now is just that one route that we specified. Okay, so let's keep trying to find the, I kind of went off on a tangent here and talked more about how you can add routes into BGP and remove them, but let's keep looking into BGP authentication as well. So just bonus content. So let's see here. I want to go ahead and delete this. And what's interesting is the whole time I was doing that, I actually did have authentication set up. So it is going to be buried somewhere in these packets. Just haven't quite figured out where yet. This might be a good one for Google. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say Wireshark, so BGP Wireshark authentication, or Wireshark BGP authentication, but here we go. So this looks promising. BGP is not only a TCP session. So let's see if authentication shows up. Here we go. So here's some information, aha. So in the options, yep, so this is what we looked at earlier. So it's going to be pretty unintuitive how it shows up. It's going to show up as part of the TCP header and not actually in the BGP open message. So you kind of, what I thought is, oh, we're adding authentication to BGP, so it's going to show up under Border Gateway Protocol. But no, it's going to show up, and it makes sense when you think about it. It's going to show up under the method that is used to establish BGP, because that's what you're authenticating. So that makes a lot of sense. It's just right here under options, and you just get the MD5 digest. It looks like you don't get the whole string, which is good. Kind of wouldn't want that sent just out on the public internet. So let's find that. So that's going to be in the open messages. And it looks like I don't have any open messages. Just those updates, because I never established a neighbor on this new capture. I only demonstrated adding and removing routes on it. So let's go ahead and reestablish those neighbors. So I cleared off connections, so I get a notification message here. And there's a cease. So hopefully we'll get a message soon that it's going to reestablish. And we can watch the process. So it's still inactive right now. Looks like there's a timer incrementing. Ah, here we go. Connect, open sent, established. And you can do a show BGP neighbor. And you might be tempted to think, oh, it went from open confirm to established, sorry, it went from open sent directly to established. So therefore, the BGP states are going to be active, open sent, active here, connect, open sent, established. But don't forget about open confirmed. Just because it happens in milliseconds doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. You can see here when I do show BGP neighbor, the state is established now, but the last state was open confirmed, not open sent, because when it transitions from open sent to established, this is just milliseconds. It's so fast that you can't even see it when you do the show command. So don't forget about this last state, but the process it goes through is active, connect, open sent, open confirm, established. And then of course it'll be an idle if you don't have a IP address on there, or it's not even attempting to form a BGP neighbor. All right, so, yep. Oh, and it looks like the capture wasn't running, and we can actually take a look at that with the ICMP traffic again. And I think it was 172. Yeah. And that is, I'm not sure which side that is, but yeah, we can see very clearly it is not capturing any ICMP packets, so therefore the capture stopped just as part of that bug, but you can always restart it. Really what's important is just being able to see the packets. So let's go ahead and do that same process of clearing off the neighbor. And then let's go and look at the process of it establishing again. So it's going to be an active, then connect, then open sent, and then Maybe we'll see an open confirm if we're lucky, but it's very, very rare to see that. And then established. So active. And then connect, open sent, open confirm, and established. Oh, it actually went back into active. That's interesting. We can see kind of what happened. Huh. Connection rejected. So maybe the authentication isn't right, or huh, that's interesting. It's back inactive. Connect, open sent, open confirm. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it just took another try, but that's kind of interesting to see. We got more things to see. But here's a double update message. That's interesting. So one for the withdrawn routes and one for the actual this route, because we still got that statement on there. What's the update message after that? More for withdrawn routes? None, just kind of an extra one. Let's see if we can find that TCP signature. Here we go. So let's try reestablishing that, but taking that authentication off and see if we still get to this. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that just to be able to do a side-by-side compare. You can see, yep, that's in the open confirms. This looks like they all have, oh, connection collision resolution. So there was like a collision during the connection. That's interesting. Okay. Follow TCP stream. So here we got the handshake, SYN, SYNAC, ACK, and now the first BGP open message, which is going to have the MD5 signature option. All right. Okay, well, let's go ahead and see what happens to the TCP option, TCP MD5 signature, if there is not authentication of any kind configured during the BGP neighborship process of establishing that. So configure private, and then let's see here. Okay, so we're going to be just removing this. Okay, show pipe compare. Perfect, and we'll be doing it on this side as well. Click that. I would see it go down, but I would be surprised if it were still capturing. Oh, no, we did get a notification with a cease. Yep, so looks like it is still capturing. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete it from this side. Just right here. All right, so, and now we should get a TCP handshake and a open message. but I think it did stop capturing. Let's take a look if ICMP traffic is still being captured. So nope, it's no longer capturing. We'll just redo that. And we can take a look at how that neighborship formation is different now that there's no authentication. Here's the cease. Here's the four-way disconnect, FINAC, ACK, FINAC, ACK. So we'll get a three-way handshake soon once that is up. There we go. So here's the FINAC, ACK, FINAC, ACK. Now we get a SYN, SYNAC, ACK, and then we'll get a BGP open message here. So this is where you would expect there to be an exchange of that MD5 hash. Of course, but I had removed it. So I don't see it's there. Yep, I don't see any kind of MD5 like there was in the previous is a TCP option. And it just had writing next to it. So I don't see any kind of TCP option like that. Take a look at the last packet in the TCP handshake. Yep, and sure enough, in the SYN, SYNAC, ACK, there is no authentication, MD5, anything like that. There's nothing like that in the rest of the SYNs. Here's the three-way handshake for the other side of the neighbor. So this one originated on 2.2. This one originated on 2.1. And neither have authentication. Okay, so let's take one last look at it with authentication, and then I'll end the video for now. And then the next video will be getting those keychains to work. But we can see in this video, sure enough, it's enabling BGP authentication for neighborships. It's as easy as just one command. But of course, you can make it as complicated as you want by using keychains, but that's the topic for another video. Before then, though, let's go ahead and add authentication back in and see how that process looks different. See this TCP option come back into play during the three-way handshake, and it will show up in the rest of those keep alive messages as well. It will always be persistent as a TCP option. So let's take a look at that. And let's make sure we're still capturing. I have a feeling we're not. Oh, we are. That's good news. So I'll go ahead and commit on both. And we'll see the four-way disconnect. I kind of want to see that. So finac ac. Might take a while because there's like a hold down timer. Here we go. Finac ac. So there's the forward disconnect. Then it's just going to essentially spam on one side. That side is going to have that key coming from .1, but .2 no longer has that key, so .2 can't respond back successfully to that. And .2 is going to spam as well, but you can see .2, there's no key on .2, it's only on .1. So of course this is not going to work because only one side has authentication configured right now. But if we go ahead and do a commit, then we'll see the handshake, SYN, SYNAC, AC. So now we just got SYNs coming from both .1 and .2. They're trying. So SYN, SYNAC, AC for 2.1. Now we'll get one for the other side as well. So that'll be coming up soon. Unless it stops capturing, that might have happened. Yeah, it looks like it stopped capturing. So unfortunately, we didn't get the SYN, SYNAC, AC TCP three-way handshake for the other side. Oh, we're at number 94. Hopefully we can get to a 95 with another keep alive. I don't see anything. Let's test it with ICMP real quick. Although if we're not at 95 by now, like those keep alives are going to be happening. So I think it's clear that it has stopped. Oh, no. That's good. So it's still going. I guess I'm surprised that there was only one TCP handshake. So now that I've got my filters done, and I'm surprised that there's no keep alives now too. So let's take a look at that handshake. So we can see it's back. The good old trusty MD5 signature option is back on. Now that there's authentication enabled. And that's included in the handshake. And it's included in all the subsequent BGP messages, including the keep alives and the TCP ACKs. Here's a push ACK. It's kind of interesting. Push. Oh, that's probably. Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. But I think that's probably enough for this video. We looked at setting up the most basic, simple BGP authentication possible for forming a neighborship relationship. We went off on a tangent and kind of discussed more about how routes are added or removed from being advertised into BGP, and made a clarification about what it means to import versus export. Hope you enjoyed it.